All in Sports Network. We love sports.
Coming to you from the land of brisket and barbecue. All in Stable Blues.
Welcome back in. This episode, we will discuss the painful shortcomings of the Colts in Houston. We will give you a full breakdown, including our Mayflower Move and star of the game. So, let's go. All in Colts.
Yes, I'm Kevin. This is my son Liam, and we are the Unstable Blues. Happy to present All in Colts as part of the Rogue Media Sports Network.
Yep.
This is a Colts show, but before we jump into too much Colts stuff and get to the bad news, I normally like to start with bad news, end with good news, but you want to start with the good news of football in the state of Indiana?
Indiana is 8-0. Beat Washington. I think this is the most they've let opponent score on them. In what was it, 17, something like that? So
yes,
they're doing very well.
I would not be shocked. The slimmest of their margins so far. They were averaging 35 points in victory.
Yep.
Yes, that is correct. IU is 8-0 in football.
I'm pretty sure they came out with the polls. I didn't get a chance to look at it, so
I think those come out on Monday. Maybe give her a check.
I'm giving it a check right now.
All right. I'll start with the injuries.
Okay.
Only one injury that was reported. Trevor Denbo, knee, did not look good. He did not put any weight on it on his way to the locker room. Happened on the very first play, the very opening kickoff. 2 opening kickoffs back to back were pretty productive. And then they decided to just go ahead and kick touchbacks the rest of the game. So, still haven't done what we've asked for with the knuckleballer, but, that's, we can only do so much from here in Texas. We can't coach the game. We can't play the game.
Yeah.
That is all on the Colts.
Looks
new polls out. They were IU was 13th. Some people lost in front of them. Nobody played behind them.
It was, polls came out. Indiana stayed at 13.
That's what I figured.
Right there. One spot off.
A&M had that come from behind. Rookie came in or freshman came in. Sorry, used to NFL football. Freshman came in really knocked it out. So there may be a QB controversy there, but that's neither here nor there because we're here to discuss the Colts and Houston, which traded field goals and punts before Josh first down became Josh 69-yard touchdowns for the Colts to put them up 10-3.
First touchdown of the game. Houston answered with a Joe Mixon touchdown, which normally I don't like to do this, but I have him on my fantasy team. So secretly, I was like, okay, it's still a tie game. I can be excited for that.
And that was he broke a lot of tackles to get there. He definitely is different.
He just drug Jalen Jones as well.
He's definitely different, Joe Mixon. I will give him that. He's fast in the open field, but he doesn't mind to run into some contact.
Mm-hmm.
The teams then played field position most of the rest of the first half, but with 1 minute remaining in the first half and 2 timeouts, the Colts tried to put something together from their own 5-yard line.
Yep. Unfortunately, on 3rd and 3 from the 12, Jalen Petrie picked off a ball intended for Josh Downs. Read it really well. It was just really good defense. So I don't know if there's much else you could do except maybe pump and something.
Don't throw it.
Run the ball.
Don't
make a stupid
mistake. You hear
mistake.
this all the time. Don't turn a bad situation into a worse situation by forcing something. Because the very next play, Stroud threw a touchdown to Tank Dell after he maybe pushed Sam Womack off of him a little bit.
Wasn't maybe. He went and got it. I
I was watching. I didn't see it quite the way you saw it.
Yeah, I
And
saw a
especially
replay on it a couple of times. I showed Nick, who I was with at the time, and he was like, "Yeah, that looked like he pushed off." I was like,
especially knowing, in the offensive productive league, it has to be very, very demonstrative in order for them to call it.
"Yeah." That resulted in the 17-0 Houston lead at halftime.
17-10?
17-10.
Yeah.
Yes, my bad. I read that wrong. And Anthony Richardson going only 2 for 15, which is not good at all.
Nope. I think that was the worst performance by a starting quarterback ever in a half. Second half, though, turned from a punt competition into a field goal battle, with Houston hitting 2 and the Colts getting 1.
Until Josh First Downs had a huge, deep third down catch inside the 1 that was punched in by Jonathan Taylor to bring the score to 23-20 in favor of Houston. I thought he got in on that.
I thought so,
I
too.
was like, surely.
I saw his elbow cross, and I thought the ball was tucked, and so I thought that it was it surprised me that it wasn't. But, they got it anyway.
So short. Not so short. So close.
Yep.
Too little, which I'm gonna get in some other Indiana news since we are Colts, but we're also fans of other Indiana sports.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've watched this or plan to, the Pacers.
I have not, do not intend to. I heard
they lost by 4. Yep. It went into overtime. Tyrese hit a nasty shot. Tyrese also had another shot where he pump faked, sent a guy flying by, which isn't much. I mean, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that he pump faked, sent him flying, and the guy tried to recover and tripped and fell further. And Tyrese just stood there for a good 2-3 seconds and nailed the shot. And the whole crowd was like, ah!
Who are they playing?
The Sixers. So it was a good team.
Okay.
It was, what was it? Embiid.
Yeah.
There are other people on it that I can't remember, but they have a
Paul
good
George
solid
on there
team.
now? Paul George is on there now.
Paul George.
Yeah. So it's the return of Paul George.
Yeah, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, a couple other really good people that they have. So I'm like, bringing them to overtime, losing by 4, not that bad. And then also the Knicks game. I really don't want to talk about it, but that was bad. That was really bad. 33 points is how much we lost by.
Yeah.
Anyways,
we may have small market, big market discussion here. After the 23-20 in favor of Houston, after that Josh Downs, Houston put together a good time-chewing drive, but Kenny Moore was flagged for pass interference on a third down stop that would have led to a long Fairbairn field goal try.
Yeah. Fortunately, Dio Odeyingbo,
There you go,
picked up a bad pitch and went for a go-ahead touchdown, but that was reviewed and wiped off the board, although the fumble did count.
Yes. Just to make sure, I had your mom, who is extra critical on these things and is not a Colts believer whatsoever. She thinks that the whole team should be scrapped and start over, including the coach and the GM. She's ready to just scrap the whole thing.
Wow.
And I asked her.
I like our coach.
I asked her, is this pass interference? She said, yeah, I think so. Maybe on the back arm there. I thought it was well timed. And then I said, is he down? She said, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I didn't get a chance to review that.
Mixon was still going for the ball, and he kind of did a follow through because the pitch was just, and he never really had it. It was almost like an interception of a pitch. And in his effort to get it, his arms kind of went down on Odeyingbo as Odeyingbo went to the ground. That's what they call down by contact.
Oh.
On a small market team against a big market team.
Yep. That's what we got to suffer through as Indiana fans. Refs hate us.
Continue.
Then Much like the beginning of the game, the Colts offense couldn't put anything together, even though the defense did everything necessary, in contrast to the first meeting.
Yep. The game ended with a 23-20 Colts loss.
Yeah, we will have our half-season Colts Corner update tomorrow for more on the implications within the AFC South. Kind of go through that. The Colts could possibly win the AFC South, maybe get in the playoffs, whatever is at stake here, because I think we're kind of past the point where we're getting a good draft pick, and we kind of got to go get in the playoffs.
Yep. Currently 8th behind the Chargers in the playoff race.
Chargers
Because
won
the
today, right?
Chargers have already had their bye, so they're 3-4.
Pretty sure the Chargers
they're
beat the Saints today.
They're
So
4-3.
4-3.
Yeah, they're 4-3, and the Colts are 4-4. So
yeah,
they just one more loss, half game up.
Mm-hmm.
Stat sheet time.
Stat sheet. Anthony Richardson, 10 for 32 for 175 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. I challenged him.
You did. It didn't work nearly as well as it did against Matt Gay.
Did not.
Nope. CJ Stroud went 25 for 37 for 285 and 1 touchdown.
Yep. Stephon Diggs was the top target with 5 receptions for 81 yards.
I know that during the game you said you didn't like him, and I get it, but knowing like how that injury was and probably is,
it sucks.
Our heart goes out to him,
mm-hmm.
Especially on a 1-year prove-it deal. His season is probably over now, and he has what he has done in this half of season to either stick in Houston or go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
It's rough.
I like him as a player. He's a phenomenal player. It's just his attitude. I don't like that at all. So,
and the problem is that some of that started to come out a little bit in Houston right before this happened, and so teams are going to have to consider that. The only place that may still work for him is Houston, if they choose to bring him back. But if they do the rest of the season, do okay without him, do they need to? But that's maybe more to discuss later. Jonathan Taylor, Josh First Downs is where we are. Led the way for the Colts with 109 yards on 4 catches and that 69-yard touchdown.
Yep, Jonathan Taylor had 105 yards on 20 carries, 5.5 per carry. Pretty solid average. And he also had the other touchdown.
Yep, Joe Mixon ran 25 times for 102 yards, so less per carry. Had a touchdown, but also had 32 yards receiving as well.
Yep. Houston played aggressive defense with 5 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, and 8 tackles for a loss. That's hard.
The Colts also, though, played very aggressive. They had 2 sacks, 9 quarterback hits, and 11 tackles for loss.
Yep. They were led by Zaire Franklin with 11 tackles and EJ Speed with 10 tackles himself as well.
Yep. Intangibles. What are some of your intangibles that led to what we saw happen?
I am going to kind of take yours. Normal thing, turnovers. They were tied. That's why it was such a close game.
They were tied. Technically, if you look at the stats, they were not tied because the last final play resulted in a fumble.
That doesn't count. I don't count that.
It doesn't count. You're correct. So 2 interceptions, 1 on each side.
Yes. And then also both teams ran the ball and kept running the ball. So both teams did our strategies, and both teams looked to be pretty solid. I think one of the big ones was our defense actually played well. We more of that bend, don't break type of defense that I always talk about, that I like out of us. Sometimes we, give up a big 50-yard play, but then we stop them in the red zone and it leads to a field goal. I'm like, okay, how that drive started wasn't great, but how we ended it was a lot better. which gives me hope because if our defense can end things better, as long as they can keep us in it and then they can end things strong, then that means it's all in the offense, which happened today. Didn't work out that well. And that's another thing. Houston looked like whenever they wanted and actually wanted to move the ball, they could. Now, no shade to our defense because our defense played well. It just looked like they could move the ball a lot easier than we could, and that's a problem. AR needs to fix some stuff, obviously, as we saw. He's not making like stupid decisions necessarily. Some of those passes he's just missing the pass, or some of it his receivers are just dropping it. At another one, a big one that could be a Mayflower move of the game, but I'm not going to say it is, was the Adonai Mitchell missed catch in the end zone because he didn't get the other foot down. He gets that down, that's a touchdown rather than a field goal on that drive, which in theory puts us up points and gets us closer to them at that point in the game. So I just think everyone plays so much different whenever you're like that. So I just think that's a big play. Maybe not the Mayflower move, but I mean, so those are kind of mine.
You mentioned turnovers are tied. Houston got the turnover later. One of the things that I've paid attention to is if the turnover battle is tied, a lot of times the person who gets the later turnover ends up with the win. Not to mention that the Colts turnover did not lead. I'm sorry, that was incorrect. The Colts had the later turnover, but Houston turned their turnover into 7 points. The Colts turned their turnover into a punt.
Mm-hmm.
Points off turnovers. Next level of the turnover battle is points off turnovers.
Yep.
Time and possession was better than the first game, but still favored Houston by 10 minutes. Quentin Nelson had 3 false start penalties in this game alone. I believe that is more penalties than he has had in the rest of the season combined. Penalties, 9 total for 57 yards for the Colts compared to, I think, 5, if I'm correct, for 30-some yards for Houston. Once again, some of that might have to do with the small market, big market, but we're not here for conspiracies. What are we saying?
Yeah.
They don't call it Kevin's conspiracies for nothing. Anthony Richardson has to start games better. You mentioned the 2 for 15. He was 8 for 17 in the second half. Much better. Still not great, but better. So he has to figure out how to start the games better, right? Overall, too many missed opportunities. Drop balls, bad offensive calls. Anthony Richardson was pressured at a 64% rate. So 64% of the time he had guys in his face. There were 7 total dropped passes, including what you mentioned, but also Will Mallory on and out. Pitt had a drop, and then Goodson had a sure touchdown that went off his fingertips and was eerily familiar. So for all of those people who are putting all of this on Anthony Richardson, cool your jets. Yes, he has to play better. Yes, he's still kind of a rookie. But his play caller, his teammates have to help him out. In his post-game press conference, he kept saying we have to execute better. What he's saying is my receivers got to catch the dang ball when I throw it to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because he had some errant throws, yes. But he cannot throw it and catch it and run it. It cannot be a one-man show, which Shane Steichen pointed out. He's right. What's your Mayflower move of the game then? If it wasn't the Mitchell.
Yes, that wasn't that. I think Mayflower move of the game was on one of the last drives. I don't remember which one exactly it was, where it turned down. it turned us from a second and relatively short to a third and long. The Daniel Hunter sack, I believe it was,
Yep.
set us back so far, made it so much harder. And I think we got sacked again, or like a flag or something, put us back to 4th and 25. And that was just not good that was kind of a momentum killer, drive killer. Cause I'm like, we have this time to do this. I'm like, I think we can get this done. And we were moving at a pretty steady pace and everything like that. So I'm like, okay, we can get this. And then we get sacked. I'm like, well, that's the drive. We're gonna lose this. And then we get the ball back. I'm like, maybe. And then I don't know if you remember, but as soon as the AR ran the ball, I was like, what are we doing? Why are we running the ball? I get it's not designed and stuff, but like, throw the ball away so you don't.
Yeah.
So you're not wasting clock.
It was he had a run out scramble, but the issue was he didn't he's still kind of a rookie. He didn't have the awareness to take a few yards lost and run out of bounds rather than go for the extra yardage. Does that make sense? He wasn't quite clock aware, timeout aware, situationally aware in the situation. He's got to be better, but he's got to be better prepared by his coaches in that for that moment, right? Like, it doesn't even necessarily take a whole lot of practice during the week to do that. It just takes a second. Hey, if there's nothing there and you scramble, make sure you get out of bounds. That's it. It wasn't. Somehow something didn't happen there that should have.
Yeah.
All right. If the Colts won, it was going to be the 4th and 3 conversion inside 6 minutes in the third quarter, where I was like, 4th and 3. What are we doing? Like, where they got a penalty on the punt, right? Penalty on the punt, false start, or not false start, offsides. They get to punt again, but now it's 4th and 3, but they're still in a punting kind of range. It's like, what do we just repunt? What are we doing? They got it. And that ended up, I believe, setting up the touchdown. Is that correct? Maybe a field goal. Whatever it was. Yeah, it was a field goal to bring it back within a touchdown. It also could have been the Josh first downs fourth quarter. We thought it was Josh touchdowns again, but it turned out it wasn't. But since Houston won, the difference in the game to me, and it seems silly to say this far, this not very deep into the game, but the pick before halftime.
I think
that interception before halftime led to the touchdown. That's a 7-point lead, which can be overcome. But when you ended up having a 3-point victory, turns out that was a big difference in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I normally don't pick stuff that far in advance, especially if it's not a double whammy situation. But that's my call. Who's your star of the game then?
Obviously you could give it to Joe Mixon, who performed really well, but we are a Colts podcast, so I'm gonna stick with the Colts player. I think I'm gonna go Jonathan Taylor. Had a really big day. I was telling a lot of people, I'm like, Jonathan Taylor is a huge aspect of our offense. You guys don't understand it, but you will after this week. And here we are. He ran over 100 yards, 5.5 per carry. Very, very solid day. Had a touchdown, 18 fantasy points, something like that. I'm happy with what he did. This was not on him. He did everything he could.
Yep.
He did everything he was asked to.
You are absolutely correct. The other thing that we did point out was the defense did everything that they could. They did the bend don't break kind of thing that we've known them for. So my star of the game is Dayo Odengbo. He seemed to be everywhere. Even when he didn't get there, he was pressure in the face. He had 3 QB hits, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery on the same play. So, Dio Dengbo getting my star of the game.
I like it.
Anything else from you?
No, not really. I mean, it's a tough
right.
loss, but once again, it's a good loss, if that makes sense.
Yep,
Because we know our
but
defense.
that is it for today. We will talk more about the tomorrow. Later this week, we will have our Unstable Pick 6, Fantasy Stable, and our preview of the Colts primetime payback for this biggest comeback in NFL history against the Vikings.
Yep, this is Liam.
And this is Kevin.
We're reminding you to stay all in Colts.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.